Good.
This paper's transforming into some serious cash. It's the stage where stakes and security skyrocket. Wayne Victor Dennis made nearly $12 million of fake bills by cranking them out on a standard printing press. But the real deal? It all happens here in Washington, D.C. at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing's huge money factory. Every step along the way is designed to stop counterfeiters in their tracks.
They occupy acres and acres of space, hundreds of thousands of square feet.
It's a major operation. Inside, thousands of employees are involved in the money-making process, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And security? It's round the clock and never blinks, because working with money can be very tempting.
You've worked here at the Bureau for more than 2 or 3 weeks and it still looks like money to you. It's probably not a good job for you.
In God we trust might be the motto on money, but at the Bureau, trust is something they take very seriously. From the minute anyone walks through the door, they are searched, scrutinized, and watched by vigilant state-of-the-art security systems. Each morning, as employees arrive for work at the imposing Bureau of Engraving and Printing Factory, they must pass through special magnetometers that screen for any hidden weapons. Security is so severe that cameras of any kind are immediately confiscated at the door to prevent would-be counterfeiters from stealing secrets or anything else. Once inside, a complex identification and scanning system tracks employees' movements everywhere they go. Motion detectors and alarms are placed strategically in key locations to prevent unauthorized access.
The building is broken up into very specific security zones so that only those who are authorized to be in a specific zone have access to that.
For extra security, many employees work behind steel cages where they are monitored by cameras.
We have one of the largest closed-circuit TV systems in the world.
With employees under non-stop surveillance, the Bureau now focuses on their biggest task, thwarting counterfeiters. The high-tech paper is just the beginning. There are 6 steps in engraving and printing, and each one makes the bills harder to copy. It begins with a simple piece of steel that is transformed into a remarkable engraving. It's an old-world craft that takes talent, patience, and experience. All of the Bureau's engravers go through a 10-year apprenticeship, and their final product can take hundreds of hours to complete. For counterfeiters who want to get rich quick, there are no shortcuts.
Oh, it takes a very special person to be an engraver, I think. It would drive most people mad, sitting here hovering 3 inches above a piece of steel, just making one tiny little dot at a time.
And what are the images? There are presidential portraits, but there also have been some unusual and perhaps unexpected images. Let's take a look at the $1 bill and break down the design. There's the famous pyramid with the eye. It's a Masonic symbol. Many founding fathers were Masons. The pyramid's unfinished, which represents the nation in its early stages. And the eye? For the Masons, this refers to the all-seeing eye of God. And what about the dollar sign itself? This symbol has been linked to everything from the serpent cross to the astrological symbol for the planet Mercury. And the eagle? It's said to represent Congress. In the right talon, it grasps 13 arrows, and in the left, an olive branch with 13 leaves and 13 berries. This represents the power of Congress to lead us into war or peace. One of the more recent design additions is causing enough controversy to make it to the courtroom. Back in 1955, Congress passed a law requiring the inscription, "In God We Trust," to be added to the US dollar. 50 years later, in November 2005, Michael Newdow, a Sacramento doctor, lawyer, and atheist filed a federal lawsuit claiming that the motto was an unconstitutional endorsement of religion.
Since it's a law, it's really not a discussion point. To change that would require that all the plates be redone and would therefore add to the cost of currency.
Bill design has its symbolic history, some say even mystical, but it's also very practical when it comes to thwarting counterfeiters. These hand-carved engravings are a brain-twisting, eye-popping, intricate network of fine lines and tiny dots nearly impossible to accurately copy.
It's why I'm working here in the first place, because it's very, very hard to replicate a hand engraving where every single line, dot, and dash is paid very careful attention to. It's designed to foil forgery.
With the printing plates ready, the job moves from skilled human hands to hardcore machinery, the Bureau's massive printer called the Simultan. This mechanical giant is over 3 meters tall and weighs nearly 46 tons. It's the only press in the world that prints both sides of a sheet simultaneously, something that counterfeiters can't easily replicate. Its job: stamp in some key images, the subtle peach and green stripes, the 20 USA banner, and the nearly invisible 20 numerals. After the ink dries for 72 hours, the Bureau's ready for the next step, the intaglio engraving press. It literally pushes the paper into the ink-filled grooves of the plate. It's the process that gives money that raised look and feel that's so hard to copy, something no color copier in the world can accomplish. The intaglio press prints one side at a time. The back side is first, the green back side. It needs another full 3 days to dry, or else.
And you can see how running your finger across it with just a little pressure will move the raised ink off and smudge it pretty good.
Then the face side is ready for printing with black ink and another metallic ink with a unique security feature. It shifts color according to the angle. Every hour, 1 1/3 tons of green, black, and metallic ink and 10,000 newspaper-sized sheets of currency stock roar through these enormous presses. That's $6.4 million worth of 20s. With 24 presses in operation, the Bureau can produce as much as $650 million a day. The Bureau's money inspectors now examine every bill, and they've got to be absolutely, positively flawless to pass the test. Rivers of green and black currency sheets pass under optical scanners that take pictures of the front and back of each bill sheet, looking for the slightest imperfection. The inspection process is amazingly fast and efficient. Catching imperfect bills is almost as important as catching counterfeits. Each sheet moves through in under a second. It's given a number as it passes. This computer keeps track of 37 separate sheets of currency at once, comparing over 1 million microscopic squares with a master image. If the computer locates a mismatched square, it displays it on a monitor. Here's a demonstration, a smiley face. It'll be spotted and show up as imperfect in less than a second. Imperfect bills are so rare in the general circulation that they are automatically collectibles, sometimes fetching thousands of times their face value. For example, in 2003, a flawed 20 sold online for $10,000.
We find it odd that people would want to collect our mistakes.
Once they pass inspection, the Bureau adds the Treasury and Federal Reserve seals and the bank and serial numbers to the uncut sheets of money. It's like the money's home address.
If you know the serial number and the denomination and the series, those three things will uniquely identify that particular piece of paper. It's never duplicated, so that we can tell when that note was printed and where it was originally issued.
In a room the Bureau calls currency overprinting and packaging equipment, the money is finally cut, counted, and shrink-wrapped. It's now street ready. If someone's going to pull off a heist, now would be the time. Bricks of 4,000 notes are stacked and sent to the vault. They'll wait there until it's time for delivery. The Bureau of Engraving and Printing makes billions in paper money every year. Counterfeiters try to rip them off. But does anyone bother with coins? Actually, coins have been in the crosshairs of scheming, thieving minds a lot longer than bills. Back when coins were made of gold, crooks would shave them down. Authorities countered by making coins out of less valuable metals. But that doesn't mean the war between the thieves and the feds is over just yet. This is the Philadelphia minting plant, the largest coin factory in the United States in both size and production. This massive fortress of a building spans the length of 5 football fields. Inside, this mega mints a fine-tuned combination of raw machine power and precision craftsmanship, and the security's stone-cold serious.
We are really in many ways the envy of the world mints.
There are 8 major steps in the minting process. It begins with the design. Whenever Congress authorizes a new coin or metal, the mint sculptor engravers sketch out their ideas. It's a contest. Whoever comes up with the best design wins. The prize? Having their artwork displayed on a U.S. coin means it's seen by hundreds of millions of people every day, a number that puts the Mona Lisa to shame. John Mercanti has engraved more than 100 coins and medals.
It's a very privileged position to be in. It really is, especially as an artist.
Until the 1970s, the sketches were hand-drawn.
When we had to make a correction on a drawing, we would have to go back and redraw the whole thing.
Computers have changed all that. Today, software programs streamline the process. After the design is approved, the artist takes up traditional tools to sculpt a clay model. It's usually 3 to 12 times the size of the finished coin.
It takes a certain degree of concentration. Sometimes it's almost monastic in seeing the engravers in their cells, what I call cells, working very quietly and very intense.
The team makes a negative rubber mold of the large design. Then, liquid epoxy is poured into the rubber mold and hardens, creating a more durable model to work with. This model is mounted onto a machine called a transfer engraver. At the other end, a tool cuts the reduced design into a steel blank called a hub. It will be an exact replica of the large model, but engravers still have to double-check for any tiny errors.
This is the only place in the world where you'll see a bunch of grown adults standing around a table completely frustrated over a little piece of metal just the size of a quarter that just doesn't quite look the way they want it.
Once perfected, dies, 2 pieces of steel that will stamp the design on the coins, are made from the master hub. Then, raw machine power takes over. Every day, inside this massive room, monster machines consume thousands of tons of 13 by 1,500-foot metal strips of copper and nickel alloy, and every hour punch out round blanks by the thousands. The blanks are softened in these towering annealing furnaces, and then run through a washer and dryer. Next, giant upsetting mills exert tons of pressure on the softened blanks, squeezing up rimmed edges. Finally, huge coining presses stamp the long-awaited images on the coins, 750 strikes per minute, with nearly 100 tons of force. The coins are spot-checked for errors. once they're clear to go, colossal counting